The beginning of the second.
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, I'm just gonna roll.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we want to welcome you to the Scranton Jazz Festival holiday show that we put together for ECTV and for the community. And we're celebrating 15 years of the Scranton Jazz Festival this year in 2019. And with that said, I want to introduce our saxophonist, Mr. Tommy Hamilton, and our guitarist, Mr. Aaron McClellan. And of course, on bass, the great Paul Rostock on the upright bass, and yours truly, the artistic director for the Scranton Jazz Festival, Marko Marcinko. So we're going to play some Christmas songs for you. We're going to talk a little bit about the tunes, and we're going to talk about the tradition of jazz. And in the tradition of jazz, of course, there's improvisation, and we like to take melodies, recreate melodies, and we like to improvise on some songs, popular Christmas songs that you probably are very familiar with. So maybe we could share the microphone and we could talk a little bit about what it is that we do. And maybe, Tommy, you want to say something about improvisation and why we do it?
Well, why do we do it?
Why do we do it?
Because we can. Talking about tradition, Christmas is a very traditional holiday, and we carry that tradition over to our music, of our jazz music. Traditionally, jazz musicians have always played the Christmas songs because they are standard tunes, and they are in the repertoire of most jazz musicians. Know a lot of Christmas tunes because every year we have to play them at parties and concerts. And so we like to incorporate our improvisation into these tunes, which you don't hear too much on. If you're walking down in the mall, you don't hear too much improvising. You hear the tunes. So we like to do that because it's fun and it lets us put our own personality into the music.
All right, thanks, Tom. Well, I always felt that these tunes started out as very simple in terms of chords. You know, you think of chords and you think of a guitar player playing a few chords. And these tunes all started with very simple chord progressions, maybe 1 or 2 chords, or maybe 3 chords. But over the years, probably a long time before some of us were born, the great arrangers and composers would switch these things around, or what we call reharmonize, and adjust maybe the harmonic progressions to become a little bit more complex and essentially allow guys like us to have a little bit more fun playing over the tunes from the standpoint of having more options to play. And so, you know, he talked about reinventing melodies. Well, a lot of times, like I was speaking to, is that the actual chord progressions might be reinvented a little bit, and sometimes we actually improvise that. So I might hear Paul play a bass note, and then we'll all hear it and say, oh, he's using that change here. So we play around a lot with what we consider the chord changes, and that's one of the main things that we get to improvise with and have a lot of fun with, and it allows it. It gives it that essence of spontaneity that can be really fun for us, because all of a sudden somebody throws a chord at you and you can hear it, and it wasn't where you were expecting to go, and that's what makes jazz so much fun. And the Christmas tunes certainly act as a great vehicle for us to be able to improvise. Let's pass the mic back to Marko.
So with all of that said about improvisation, we're going to play, we opened the show with a beautiful tune called O Christmas Tree, O Tannenbaum, German Christmas carol that we jazzified. We made it like a medium swing, and it had a really nice feel to it. We added some chord changes that really aren't in the original traditional version that you might heard sung in church or with a bunch of carolers, but that's what makes it unique unto what we do. Now we're going to play a different style for you. We're going to take you down to New Orleans, and we're going to play a New Orleans street beat that we like to call the second line, and we're going to do this song, Winter Wonderland, and we're going to feature Tommy and Aaron on this, and you're going to hear the bass and the drums in the beginning set up that street beat, New Orleans type of groove. It sort of has a calypso sort of vibe to it, but this really comes out of that brass band tradition in New Orleans during the turn of the century, getting into the early 1900s, pre-jazz into jazz. So here's Winter Wonderland. So that was Winter Wonderland with that New Orleans sort of feel. And how about Tommy Hamilton on the saxophone and Aaron McClellan there on guitar, Paul Rostock on bass, and if you're just joining us, yours truly, Marko Marcinko. And we're talking about Christmas songs and applying a jazz feel to the Christmas music that you hear during this time of year. And we're honoring the 15-year celebration of the Scranton Jazz Festival. So I want to say that jazz is truly an American art form, you know, starting down in New Orleans and then making its way during the railroad, going way back over 100 years now, up to Chicago, New York, out to the West Coast. Jazz is important on the East Coast jazz, West Coast jazz, Midwest, Kansas City. The whole United States made a contribution to jazz, and it's truly an American art form, the American art form that we've contributed to the world. So we all have a piece and a stake in that, and even here in northeastern Pennsylvania, we have a stake in that because, historically speaking, the very first recorded jazz festival was recorded in northeastern Pennsylvania, going to the city of Wilkes-Barre and the Cavalcade of Dixieland Jazz, where Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong both appeared at it. And of course, we have our jazz festival here for 15 years in the Scranton area that we hold at the Radisson Hotel in downtown Scranton the first weekend of August each and every year. And then the Delaware Water Gap has made a giant contribution to jazz with so many wonderful artists living up there in the Deer Head Inn. And I'm going to pass the mic over to our bassist, Paul Rostock, because he's going to tell you a little bit more about what his feelings are on jazz in northeastern Pennsylvania. One of the older members of this band, has a long history with this music. Here you go, Paul.
Okay, thank you, Marko, and best of holidays to all you out in ECTV land. We're glad to be back. The Scranton Jazz Festival is one of the highlights culturally in the area, and the first weekend in August every year, set on the site downtown at the Radisson, where our outdoor stage is over the weekend, and then we have the Jazz Walk, which features different acts in local venues like bars and coffee shops. What I feel is the great things about the festival is not only does it bring a cultural awareness to the area, which is very important, and a lot of the credit goes to the committee, who they work tirelessly year-round to put together an incredible program that you could, in a small market, rivals even larger market festivals and, you know, presentations like that. So it's not only for the community, but for us, it's great because we bring in some of the greatest artists in our music. And some bring their own groups and are what we call self-contained, but a lot of them we get to accompany. And it's just a great experience for us as well as the audience to see that, that interplay between us. And it's extremely important. We even go into the schools occasionally and do some educational programs promoting the festival, but also promoting the art form. So we really encourage anybody out there listening and watching tonight or today, whatever time this is aired, to really check it out. And if you have kids, that's very important. It's a great family event. Very reasonably priced, and it's really, I think, a highlight of the year in the area.
Thanks, Paul. We're going to play a tune by a great jazz pianist. You'll know the name and you'll know the music because if you're familiar with the Charlie Brown or Peanuts series, each and every year at Christmas time on CBS, they play a Charlie Brown Christmas, and the great jazz pianist Vince Guaraldi wrote this song that we're going to play right now. It's called Christmas Time Is Here. So we're going to feature our bassist, Paul Rostock, improvising on Christmas Time Is Here. We're going to play the melody, and then you'll hear what we do. We'll talk about it. Thank you. Oh, 1, 2, 3. That was Vince Guaraldi's Christmas Time is Here, and that was a 3/4 meter, a jazz waltz meter, and it's played like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's a little different than the other meters that we did. Most of the music that we play, and most popular music, is in 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's even. And this is an odd meter time. A waltz is an odd meter time, and that gives it a certain sort of flavor. And so we played a jazz waltz on Christmas Time is Here. And now we're going to change the meter again back to 4/4, but we're going to do a Latin groove for you, and we're going to play a very famous song that you all probably recognize, Feliz Navidad. But with Feliz Navidad, it comes from that Spanish flavor, it comes from that Afro-Cuban tradition, and we have in the Afro-Cuban tradition a beat, a two-measure beat played by the claves, and Tommy has the claves right here, and this is a 3/2 clave beat, one measure that has 3 hits, a second measure that has 2 hits, and it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And you'll hear that going through the music, and that's very important in salsa music, mambo music, and merengue, and any of those great dances, especially for ballroom dancers. They listen for the clave. They dance to that 2-bar pattern. And then all of our playing, the bass playing, the drum playing, the guitar playing, it's all structured around that clave pattern. So you'll hear that with Feliz Navidad. So in fact, why don't we start with the claves, and then we'll add some shaker, and we'll add some drums, and we'll do a little percussion thing up front for the audience, right? For the viewing audience. And then we'll get into Feliz Navidad. A 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to thank everyone for following us, watching this wonderful show here at ECTV. And again, it's our Scranton Jazz Festival gift, holiday gift to you in the community and for ECTV. And a special thanks to Mark behind the camera. He's there. We're looking at him. You can't see him, but he makes it all happen. And our staff and everyone that's involved, our volunteers, everyone, our board members, all say happy holidays to you in northeastern Pennsylvania from the Scranton Jazz Festival. And I thought maybe a couple of final thoughts from the band. I'll pass the mic over to our guitarist, Aaron McClellan, and get a couple of things from him.
Thanks, Anna. So this time of year always means a lot to me and my family. And getting to play this music for them has always been a great addition to our family gatherings. So usually I'll get stuck when I'm not working playing. I'll get stuck playing some songs and singing some Christmas songs. And it's just great to play these kind of songs when you're out and about on a gig. You have a nice family in front of you at a table, and then you start by playing a nice Christmas tune or holiday theme tune, and it brings a smile to people's faces. And I think that's why we play music to begin with, is, you know, and I know that we all enjoy playing these tunes as well, and it's certainly my pleasure to play with these venerated musicians here. So I'm going to pass the mic back to Santa. We would like to say thanks again and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Can I say that? Merry
you
Christmas,
can.
okay.
You can. It's okay.
Thank you. And happy holiday, whatever your favorite holiday is. I hope you have a happy one. And I just wanted to remind everyone, you probably already know this, but it's all about the children, isn't it? And that's who we have to nurture and teach this music to, teach our traditions, bring them to the Jazz Festival. And it's all about the kids.
All right. I want to wish everybody in ECTV land a great Christmas, happy holidays. Great to be a part of this again. And Mark, thanks so much. We really enjoy doing it. And kind of following on what Tommy said, you know, the festival's once a year. It's a great event, but we're performing year-round at venues. It's so, you know, it's important to support. It's really hard for especially local, owners and club owners, restaurant owners. You know, they take a chance on jazz, and they do it because they want to keep the music going, and it's important to, go out and support them. It's, you'll find us somewhere through the year performing somewhere, and, and again, if you can get your youngsters involved in it, in any art, form in the area, it's just enriches their lives and keeps it alive. So, again, have a great holiday.
And of course, I want to thank the musicians that are here playing, Aaron, Tommy, and Paul. Yours truly, Marko Marcinko, Artistic Director for the Scranton Jazz Festival. If you want to check out more about the Scranton Jazz Festival, it's scrantonjazzfestival.org, or you could check us out on Facebook as well. You could go to facebook.com/Scranton Jazz Festival, and you'll get a plethora of information about the Jazz Festival. It's always the first weekend in August. It's here in downtown Scranton at the Radisson Hotel, of course, and multiple downtown venues. All the musicians that you see here performing right now perform at it, as well as a whole host of other local and regional musicians and international and national stars that we bring in for the festival. So we thank you for watching. We're going to play one more song in honor of that wonderful hat that Tommy is wearing, that Santa Claus hat. How about we close with Santa Claus is Coming to Town? We do a little Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Ho, ho, ho.
Christmas.